Rolling?
Rolling.
Nice, man. How you feeling?
I'm feeling good. Slightly hungover, which is actually a feeling that I have not been having for a while. Because as you know, I have minimized my drinking significantly. Not that it was problematic or anything, but I did like a good binger every now and then. And so did you.
So did I, but I haven't touched it for a whole year now.
No, including last night, because we had a nice little get together with the team from Eli 5, Typejust, and Noco at your place actually, and it was beautiful. It was very nice. I enjoyed myself.
It was nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I was the only one that wasn't drinking yesterday, but I was feeling tempted to have a glass of whiskey.
Yeah.
Bourbon you were drinking.
I made it a bit difficult for you, but you were not the only one actually, because there's one colleague of ours who was strictly water because his wife is about to give labor.
Of course.
Yes.
Oh, I didn't see that. Yeah, but you're right. Yeah.
So he was very relaxed actually for someone who is about to become a father like any moment now.
Yeah.
But that's also a little bit how we know him, right? Quite a stoic dude.
Yeah. But I had the same, and then all of a sudden Megan was giving birth. You're just like calm until it hits.
Yeah. Well, I respect that, but it was good. And to be honest, the feeling of being slightly hungover and still being here today, you kind of had to rush a little bit to get here. The weather is shit. This is the typical day where we say, let's skip the podcast 1 week.
Yeah, man, I agree. But this, dude, we're the winter just started. You know, like I think we'll have this for many weekends to come.
Exactly, and the fact that we are here today. Doing this is already a win for us, because what did you say? Most podcast initiatives or content initiatives, they stop after how many times?
I think I read this post of a friend of mine who did a podcast about women health, and she said, like, I can't remember the percentage, but like vast majority stops before episode 10.
Yeah, so we are now at episode 7.
Are we 7?
Yeah,
okay.
We are 7. I did one with Jelle last week. That was 6. And now we're back together for 7 and many more to come.
Okay. Well, almost there then.
Almost there. Well, let's not get complacent. So did you have a good night of sleep after all the fun and games?
Everyone left, I think, 2 o'clock or 1:30 or so, and I just cleaned the whole house after that.
Wow.
And then I went to sleep. So yeah, I'm not fresh, but so if I slur my words, then it's because of the lack of sleep.
Well, you're fresher than me, that's for sure, because the bourbon was tasting exceptionally good last night.
I was smelling the bourbon.
Yeah,
I had to say,
so
that
good.
Must have been a good bourbon. Yeah.
The only thing we were missing was a nice thick cigar. But we are at the age that we should start smoking cigars, I think. But we stuck to American spirits, which is of course also somehow anabolic.
Does the trick.
Yes, absolutely. So I got home with my girl, and I just took a bunch of magnesium and some warm milk with honey, actually, grandma's trick, and fell asleep right away, and it was beautiful. But because I took all that magnesium, and I take the Mactine that goes through your blood-brain barrier, and you have these crazy vivid dreams. And I had such a vivid dream, Wes. I actually wrote it down. I started a dream diary, because I have a hard time remembering my dreams, and every time I do remember a dream, I do not write it down, and then it just quickly fades away. So I had this wild, wicked dream about something, and I meticulously wrote it down. Would you like to hear what I dreamt?
Yeah, go ahead.
So my dream was that we were recording a podcast, and it was an hour-long episode, and typically you get these big files, big video files, audio files. I have to process the audio manually, upload the video file, encode it first in Descript, waiting for it to get transcribed and stuff. So I was dreaming that, and I was about to kick that process off, and then something super magical happened, because I saw that all the files, got uploaded in Descript automatically, and got transcribed, edited, audio processing, framing of the image, everything automatically. And then somehow it got pushed out to OpenAI, and it got transcribed, and the transcription got assessed, and it got categorized, and all these chunks of content came out of that, and all these notes and instructions, and it all went automatically, and then it got pushed back into Descript, and I didn't know what I saw. Like all these clips got cut from it, and the titles were written, the hashtags were defined, the descriptions, everything got put into a log, like a Google spreadsheet that I didn't even know I had, and it was like this meticulous logbook of everything we did, all the clips, all the titles, whether it got scheduled and on LinkedIn, YouTube, X, and all of this. It was amazing dream, super vivid, and I was like, yeah, this is it, and I'm on top of the world because now I don't have to do all this stuff manually anymore. And let's see what.
And then you woke up.
No, what more happened? Yeah, and then I saw all these Zaps doing their work and tying everything together, and it was perfect. And then we have this big content sheet, of course, at our agencies. And it got all the transcripts all of a sudden got broken down into carousel posts, and the only thing I had to do was just push it to the marketing manager, give it a sign off, and then all these carousel posts appeared in our content calendar, and it all went automatically. And I was so relaxed and happy. And then I woke up, and it was raining outside, and then I went to the office and meet you. So, but do you think that is actually something that we could somehow put together?
Well. Because you mentioned this week that you would like to talk about AI agents. I was actually tweaking on a thing a little bit, tinkering a little bit.
Yeah.
And I did not solve this big thing that you described, but I have been tinkering with Lindy AI. I saw this. I saw Andrew Wilkinson of Tiny and MetaLab. I saw him posting about him building some Lindy AI agents for, I think it was to research people he had appointments with and send him a summary of the person, I don't know, via Slack or email, whatever, before the appointment.
Right.
And I saw it a couple of weeks ago. I was like, oh, interesting. I checked it out. Did not really use it yet because we were quite busy with other stuff. But then you brought up AI agents, so I was like, okay. Well, we've built a couple with Eli 5, but it's more like heavy engineering stuff. But what I think Lindy does is it makes it accessible for people that don't really have the engineering capacity. So it's a bit like a workflow automation tool, a no-code workflow automation tool. But then you can do all these little smart things with it. So what I did is actually in line with what you're describing. But yeah, great minds, right?
Yes.
But it's very low key. So I was just like tinkering with it, making a workflow where I can add the YouTube URL of our podcast, of our episode. And then I can give it all these like little steps it needs to go through. So I can first say, okay, break this video down in 5 potential blog posts. And when it gives those 5 potential blog posts, write the outlines. Based on the outlines, write the blog post. And then when the blog post is done, send it to my Slack. It's pretty cool. Cool. I did this in like 20 minutes or so. And just by playing around with it a little bit, you just get all these like ideas. You're like, oh shit, this actually works pretty well. So I think we're heading into the no-code AI workflow automation revolution, and obviously many of us saw this coming a year ago or so, but I was not that happy with what I saw back then yet, and now I was playing around with this, and this is pretty solid, man. And you can also use it for tasks in your personal life. This time I was using it for content creation. You can, but I also noticed when I was doing this YouTube workflow, what I noticed is that a lot of people in our companies are sharing interesting YouTube videos, but no one has the time to just watch like another 40-minute video. But yeah, there is interesting stuff in those videos. So what you could do as well is just like basically add that URL, send it to a workflow with Lindy, and Lindy, you create like a little workflow with Lindy that basically creates an output that is just like a two minute summary of the video, you know, like something that you can read quite quickly. And I think, yeah, this is just by just thinking around with it, playing around with it for like 20 minutes. But if you dive into all these like processes in the companies, you probably come to the conclusion like, oh shit, I can actually create a little Lindy workflow with this. Absolutely. Without even needing to code, you know?
Yeah, because it is really about workflows. Because let's break this down, of course, after my cheesy introduction about the dream and all of that. But yeah, we want to talk about AI agents. And yes, you will get bombarded with content and opinions about AI agents everywhere. On X, my timeline is already filled with it. Combinator had a podcast dedicated to vertical AI agents. The My First Million podcast was talking to the HubSpot CTO about AI agents being the next big thing. So we want to keep it a little bit more practical here. So what are AI agents? We all know of AI. We know there's ChatGPT, there's Midjourney, there's Claude. So those are AI. But what is the difference between AI and AI agents? Well, I found this very helpful video that really broke it down, like explain it like your 5 style. Let me see where I have it. I made some notes about it. So you can think of AI as the genius with a million ideas, and an AI agent is the one who actually gets stuff done. So they understand you, they think and they act on your behalf. And it consists of an interface, so that could either be a chatbot or a type field or whatever, or buttons. And a workflow. And what you have been describing in these examples is basically the workflow. And what I was describing from my so-called dream is also the workflow. So you have AI tools already. I mean, for example, you have text-to-speech AI. You just upload text and it turns it into speech for you. But it gets really interesting when you can tie sort of a chain of events together to have this very bespoke output that will help you in your business or in your personal life. And the possibilities obviously are limitless, endless. And already in our companies, there are so many things we could already do with AI agents. But also, Eli 5 already built an AI agent, I think, for the recruitment industry, which is a very obvious case to deploy AI agents for, because it's such a manually heavy field of work. All the meetings, transcribing the meetings, meeting notes, reporting them, putting them in a system, categorizing the candidates, etc., etc. I can imagine that there's so much you can automate with AI agents. So how did Eli 5 go about that case?
Well, this was actually in collaboration with an innovation firm that was working together with this large European recruitment firm. And the idea that they had was to build a suite of AI tools that could support their recruiters in becoming more efficient, but also more effective, like forget less things. So what we did was we basically built a AI agent that was collecting the transcripts of the conversations that recruiters were having. As soon as the conversation was identified as a positive one, so the candidate was interested in potentially switching jobs, then our agent would actually continue the process by analyzing the transcript and basically already create all these documents that recruiters need to make after they found the candidate that is willing to switch jobs. So this was just like a little bit more engineering heavy because it needed to be integrated with their corporate digital infrastructure, right? So all the tools that they were using, from MS Teams to VoIP, needed to be integrated. So that was a bit more tech heavy. But then if you look at the flow of things are, I mean, eventually you don't want to build an enterprise grade software tool with that, but MVP style, you could actually create the flow of this with Lindy as well. It's just like the integration that's a little bit more complex. But yeah, this started, I think we built this a year ago or so, almost. And yeah, now you just see, I just see it more and more like these low-key use cases. I'm 100% sure, like within a year from now, you can build that stuff with Lindy.
Yeah, and in like a time span of half an hour in some cases, because that's what you see now on X a lot, right? You see all these people who experiment with it heavily, and they boast, and perhaps they're right about how quickly they can just build an AI agent and actually deploy it, because there's apps like Lindy, but you also have Replit, which is also a very, very popular one that gets mentioned often. I made some bookmarks about it as well. Let me see. I mean, you also have AI agents for SEO. That's one, the SEO bot AI from John Rush that I came across, which looks really promising. I mean, it's a complete explosion. Why Combinator dedicated a whole podcast to it a couple of weeks ago about B2B SaaS and how vertical AI agents can actually be triple the market value of the current B2B SaaS market, and just outrageous prognosis like that. So it's the next hype, yeah, it's going to be an interesting one, and the use cases are endless. So I found this article on Markets and Markets where they listed some use cases that could potentially benefit from this. So one thing I saw was customer service automation. So AI agents efficiently classify and route customer inquiries and provide instant answers to common questions. You already see this with AI chatbots, but I don't know if you noticed this as well. When I get on a website where I bought something, use an AI chatbot, like 9-10 of the times, it's just not sufficient to helping me in my request. It's still unable to get the relevant documentation to pull that up and to really perform an action for me. So I'm very curious to know, in terms of customer service, what the next iteration of those AI chatbots will be, and how long and how complex the chain of events behind such an AI chatbot would become, that they could really pull up, the documents I need. Maybe that could verify my identity so it can provide me. Yeah. And that is a very new chain of events.
Yeah, well, we actually built something like that as well. It was for an energy company that wanted to take care of some topics that were often brought up by customers via the online help desk. So it could already give like the basic stuff, like I don't know, like information about an invoice not being paid, or like just the simple request. But I do think that the problem was the problem to bring that further is also like some ID verification, right? Yeah. But yeah, and another thing is, I think most of the things can already be executed with an AI, and I believe we're also now on the verge of having voice user interfaces that feel completely natural. So
yeah, true.
2025, 100% that we'll get like fully automated AI-based customer service, both in voice and in chat, that can basically do 90% of all the requests that are normally coming in.
Yeah, and it could be at the benefit of the customer, of course, because no matter how you spin it or see it, customer service desks can be very annoying, mostly because they're very busy and not reachable and all of that.
Yeah.
So
it's already like, how often do you call with the customer service and it's like a computer says no kind of thing? You know that there's probably like some workaround if the person who's helping you thinks a little bit more, maybe they're like in a bad mood or whatever. But then I think you will tackle a lot of those things, because an AI basically has all the options already defined. So if computer says no in that case, then it's a no. But yeah, what's the difference to the status quo?
Yeah.
And they're never in a bad mood, like.
Well, not yet. Not yet.
I always treat my AI with a lot of care. You know,
Yeah,
like I'm afraid of them becoming our overlords, and I want to be spared just by being kind to them.
That's the Rocco's basilic theory that they talked about several years ago, where you shouldn't. Where there was like a thought experiment, right? Where if you ever spoke badly about AI or the advancement of AI technology, you're already fucked, because you will. Whenever AI becomes sentient, becomes what is it, like the next sentient step of AI, then it will upload your mind into some sort of electronic digital equivalent and punish you until eternity. That's Rocco's basilic. So anyone who doesn't help or anyone who hinders the advancements of AI is basically already screwed.
Doomed. Yeah.
That was the thought experiment. Now, I generally try to be friendly as well, not so much because I believe I'm talking to an actual sentient being, but also, it's the same when you go to a checkout counter and you just smile and say hi and be friendly. It also gives you better energy yourselves rather than just being grumpy to them. So, but there are times when I lose my patience, and then I always either threaten Sam Altman in my prompt, or I say that I will move over to Claude if it's ChatGPT I'm talking
Actually, I heard you saying that to GPT this morning, didn't I?
Yeah, what did I? No, I said you're doing a good job. Yeah, but that's a quote from Tony Soprano when he smacked around his friend that owed him money. Davey, you're doing a good job. So yeah, but no, I sometimes get frustrated, especially when there's like certain core guidelines that I give him, like the stupid dashes that it always uses between words.
Those things are so annoying. But you also, like,
I think I finally found like the hard-coded solution to doing that. But yeah, so then I can sometimes I sometimes say idiot, but sometimes I also apologize, and I don't know. It's a weird one. Okay, but we're digressing here. So other industries that are obviously could benefit from this are healthcare support. That's another high pressure field of work where, it's just known for having to wait long, frustrating, Kafkaesque systems that you can't really get through, and you have to wait, and the turnaround times are very long, and the people are under a lot of stress. So AI agents assist in patient outreach by tracking medication adherence, sending automated reminders, notifying doctors of irregularities. Okay, yeah, that angle gets a little bit more transhuman, of course, where you have constant trackers around you, and then AI sort of reports back to your healthcare professionals. But, we're going to see that for sure. Logistic and supply chain management, for me also an obvious one. AI agents optimize delivery routes by analyzing factors like weather and traffic, leading to cost savings and improved delivery times. Well, it's an obvious workflow that you can see there, of course, based on all the data from different platforms and models. That sort of gets linked into your planning systems, and real-time changes can be made in planning, or even routes that get pushed through the screens of the truck drivers, etc. Endless possibilities, of course, there. But I would say that for that industry, risk mitigation should also be an issue. I mean, what if you have a faulty model or a faulty workflow, and a dangerous route is being pushed through the screen or something, or whatever. So then you have, obviously close to home, marketing campaign management. Maybe we can talk about the content strategy that we're rolling out a little bit later in the pod. And recruitment processes, we covered that as well. Any industry in particular where you would feel that like that is an obvious match for deploying AI agents at large scale?
Well, I think within compliance, regulatory compliance, you can do a lot. We worked with banks for this topic, but they were quite scared for AI, and did not really want to do anything with it back then. But I feel like they're opening up right now a little bit more. Yeah,
can you notice that?
Yeah, well, I mean, they have to, right? And what I also see is this with this regulatory change management product that we have, TypeJust. You basically go from like an incoming regulation all the way to a policy, for example. and there's all these steps in between, right? I think we already tinkered a little bit with this, but you can basically already define a lot of requirements in incoming regulations that the company needs to do something with, right? And you can take that like throughout the whole process. Basically, when you define certain controls for your company based on the regulations and the interpretation of it, you can actually have an AI do give you a proposal for a potential policy document, and this is an industry where there's still so much manual labor, and we've been presenting type just to many types of companies, from crypto companies, fintechs, global banks, and what we see again and again is that the majority still has like Excel files scattered throughout the organization with before anything becomes a control, it's just still a mess. And you can talk about AI, but first you need to have that thing properly digitized and in like some kind of like single source of truth platform that we offer, of course. What we did with TypeJust is basically focusing on laying that infrastructure, and now we're trying to build all these smart AI features on top of it. But I'm confident that within this domain it's going to be huge.
Yeah, but then I also, when we were talking to your partner in this, Nick, wasn't there also some issue with regulatory pressure within the EU about certain things prohibiting the use of AI?
Well, they're mainly scared of basing an entire policy on something that the AI suggests. But I mean, who's going to do that, right?
Wasn't there one bank in the Netherlands that tried this? Wasn't it Bank?
Bank did a lot of automation. Yeah, I need to look into that more. But I believe they got a whole automated system that they built themselves. I'm not sure, but it would be cool to dive into that.
I saw another cool use case. I briefly mentioned it before. It's from the John Rush thread. He has great threads, by the way. The SEO bot AI. So it's an AI agent that works 100% on autopilot. And it's about writing articles, I think. And he, as an example, an article takes 2 hours and runs 727 prompts and 126 jobs, and it costs $6. It's not similar to traditional SaaS. AI controls a large tree of nested tasks, imitating a human org. How it works. Let me give you a quick overview. User provides the URL of the site to the agent. The work starts here. It scrapes the URL content, passes it to the next model. LLM learns all the details about the business, pricing, audience, solution, problem. Creates a full spec and passes it on to the next model. Next model creates a SEO strategy, keyword analysis, looks at competitors, existing articles and pages, comes up with full knowledge and topic tree, tests it for all potential and demand via Google Search Console API, goes to Google Search to explore more. Once the strategy, and mind you, this is 126 jobs, so I'm just naming a few now. I'm not going to name all 126, but once the strategy is created, the manager model creates 100 plus tasks. So you get this amazing exponential task list. Then the next level models, okay. The results float up to the stream. It's okay. So it's like a super complex web. It's like a super complex workflow that uses all kinds of models, sources, cross-reference checks, you name it. And when there are so many steps unsupervised by a human, even one mistake is going to break the whole thing, right? That's kind of the fear of a workflow like that. There are agents who adjust the plan if some tasks can't be done. So this is, I guess, an if-else type of thing. For example, if a given website can't be scraped, what do? Everything runs on queues and jobs based on eventual consistency. So I think this is, I think this is kind of what the future, what the actual disruption look like. These very complex workflows that get tested and iterated, because you know that writing an article using ChatGPT is good for sort of a basis, but most of the time it just isn't you, right? It's not your tone of voice. It lacks a lot of actual real world data to really strengthen your argument or your opinion or something. You still have to do all the stuff manually.
Yeah.
I mean, you have been writing quite a few articles lately. Yeah, I guess it's using AI is fine to just make sure that the piece of paper isn't just a blank piece of paper anymore, but that it's filled with some sort of structure.
Yeah,
but the actual enrichment, your own opinion, putting data and cool references and examples from the real world and other articles in there, you are basically doing that manually. You're just scraping the internet yourself by clicking, by browsing, by reading.
Yeah, or you can do it via GPT as well.
You can, but you still have to read it yourself.
Of course.
You still have, because in many instances I tried that, and to and give ChatGPT the task to actually scrape other articles and put out relevant data, but to put it in context, etc. I mean, you could almost better do it yourself manually the old way at some points, because you're endlessly just correcting ChatGPT, checking if actually it didn't come up with its own data. So what you want, I guess, is a very comprehensive workflow that has a lot of, well, as they say, if-else type of constructions in there, like a lot of sources, a very specific methodology to look for the right sources, so that it knows what type of criteria you have for those sources.
Yeah.
And I mean, so this is really a next step. So that's what that video that explained it like on 5 videos as AI is like the genius with a million ideas, but an AI agent actually, like if you're a genius but you just sit on your ass every day and you don't force yourself to tie everything together, do the legwork, double check everything, get out in the world to read, learn, converse, not a lot of unique output is coming out of that, right?
Yeah.
So an AI agent actually should do all those things for you. That is kind of the premise.
Yeah, but then regarding writing blogs, I feel it when I read that. Yes. I often spend some time on certain subreddits, and a lot of people also just post GPT generated content in there. I'm like,
you see that right away.
Yeah, you see it right away, and sometimes you don't see it, but you feel it. And then when you read something from a dude like Derek Sivers or something, you can just there's so much personality in that. That's how he writes it. When I write a blog, I prefer to just use GPT more as a friend, right? The way I would. Hey, how would you look at this? How do you see this?
As a brainstorm partner.
Yeah, I think it helps you a lot with breaking the writer's block. So I haven't experienced that for a while. And what I do think is what GPT or any LLM is very good at, if you have clearly defined content formats. So what I was doing for Typejust, because for example, Nick, the CEO of Typejust, he has so much knowledge about this market, right? Sorry, and there's a lot of interesting things like regulatory forecasts. What's ahead of crypto in EU in 2025, for example, but. There's also a lot of interesting information about how well certain regulations are working, and often they are not working that well. So, for example, I was having this content format for a carousel, and this one was specifically about AML. So globally, there was 200 billion spent, and less than 1% of illicit money flows, so to say, were like intercepted. So I basically like have this information, but then I just push it through this like content pipeline for this format, and I get like basically a carousel ready to post.
Yeah.
And I think for that it's very good.
Yeah. And then if you can tie it into an AI agent workflow, it's even better.
Well, you could actually, I mean, we have a lot of data about this already, but you could basically search the web constantly about, search the web for, regulatory, topics about like how certain regulations are working or not working. And basically generate a whole list of all these topics, and then you just select the ones that you want to push into this workflow to create this content format. And within like, I don't know, 10 minutes, you got maybe like 3 months of content.
Yeah.
And for that, I think it's good.
Yeah, I think so too. And this is really something that we should and kind of are looking into as well, because we are rolling out a whole new content strategy with our group of companies, and we have a lot of tasks. We have them systemized, and I think we did a good job in it. We have dedicated Trello boards. We have a master spreadsheet for content delivery, so that everybody's on the same page. We all know what to do. It's like we kind of built a machine, and so that's good. But the next step would probably be that certain steps or certain groups of steps, we'll put AI agents on there to help us alleviate that, because it's a lot of work still. Even though we try to build this machine as efficient as possible, with as little steps as possible, as centralized as possible, so with a universal source of truth and all of that, it's still a lot of work.
Yeah,
Most of the work is not just writing the content. It's also just structuring it, scheduling it, ideating it, but also making sure that you're updated with your master spreadsheet, with your Trello cards, etc., that you tag the right people. So there's still a lot of manual, I guess, project management tasks involved in that.
Yeah.
That is just no getting around that.
Well, I mean, it would be cool to dive a little bit deeper into it, because now we basically have, I'd say we got a system that runs.
Yeah.
But it would be cool to see like, hey, what could we do with something like Lindy, for example, to automate parts of it. And also I think there's in terms of like generating the copy, I think there's a big difference between something that is mainly functional and something that is basically written to connect. And I think if you try to connect with GPT generated content, either you need to be very good at it, but I think currently you probably fail to connect. But then back to the example that you gave of that workflow of what is his name?
John Rush.
John Rush. I think you could use something like that.
Cool name, by the way.
I don't really know what the purpose was of that flow, but
it was a long thread, but it was about writing SEO optimized articles. I think.
Okay, so that was how I was thinking about that. So you could use that, for example, to generate a whole bunch of landing pages. You know, most landing pages are basically having a clear function. You just want to generate traffic with your ICP. And once that person is in, make sure you funnel them to content that that is made to connect with them. But the landing page is mostly created to rank high in Google, for example. And then you can do all these smart things, like connecting it to a dashboard that analyzes the performance of all these landing pages, basically kill the bad ones and generate new ones and so on.
And automatically A/B test them. Well, that goes on and on and on. Like, you can make that workflow as big or long as you want at some point. But then, of course, the risk of something failing in between, or something sort of not properly working, so that you might have wrong or incomplete or insufficient information, that is always a risk. and what are the ways to mitigate that. Yeah, it's almost too much to deal with when you think about it, right? Because the possibilities are so endless.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is the way to go. At least, if you don't look into it, that's fine. But it's the next big thing, and they also think so at Y Combinator, because a couple of weeks ago they dedicated a full episode to actually vertical AI agents, and I have a nice summary that was posted by a an ex-user named Ben Lang. I don't know if he wrote the summary, but just in case, I referenced him. So Y Combinator had an episode. Why did you see it?
I don't know which one are you referring to?
Well, it's why vertical AI agents could be 10 times bigger than SaaS.
I think I saw the first 10 minutes or so.
Yeah,
it was quite a long video.
It was quite long. So
it would be nice to summarize that.
Yeah, well, that I have it summarized here. I don't know if he used an AI agent for it, but so market opportunity. The AI revolution parallels the SaaS boom of the 2000s, but could be even larger. Every company that is a SaaS unicorn you could imagine, there's a vertical AI agent unicorn equivalent, which is pretty insane when you think about that. They could see a $300+ billion company started just in this one category of vertical AI agents. There used to be only one player in town with OpenAI, but we've been seeing in the last batch this has been changing. Competition is the soil for a very fertile ecosystem. So they say that vertical AI will get bigger than SaaS. AI replaces both software and labor costs. Well, that is of course the premise of AI agents. Companies spend way more on employees than they do on the software currently. These smaller companies will be way more efficient, that need way less humans. Every 3 months, things have just kept getting progressively better. We're at this point where we're talking about full-on vertical AI agents that are going to replace entire teams and functions. I mean, these are the bold statements that we know from every trend cycle, right? Or every hype cycle. Probably right in large part, but there's always some caveats that they don't really take into account. We'll see. Go to market. If you're going to go and sell to the team that's going to get replaced by AI, they're going to sabotage it. Well, that's a good point, right? Focus on high-level decision makers who won't feel threatened by automation. Well, I think that's usually a good thing to do, but well, you also have the influence, of course. So they're talking from a SaaS perspective, B2B SaaS perspective. So I want to sell you my SaaS product. Yes, the employees are important. The workforce is important because they have to work with it. They might be the advocates for it in that decision-making unit to help you actually sell it to the decision makers. But in this case, they say, well, it's the actual people and the workforce that's going to be replaced by it. So you should focus decision makers directly. How do you feel about that?
I think it makes sense.
Yeah.
But what I found interesting that came to mind when you were reading this is that I think was mentioned in the My First Million podcast that CEO from HubSpot was talking about
Ramesh.
He was talking about RAS, so results as a service instead of software as a service. Makes sense. I like that, and I think with the examples that we just went through, that's exactly the case that is going to be delivered. But yeah, let's see how this unfolds, man. I already had it with the unbundling of SaaS. You know, like within HubSpot, there's so many different products that have been unbundled. I saw it as well that highly specific SaaS solutions dedicated to a certain niche were like growing in the last years. Yeah. And I think for this it's even more important to look into the niches, right? That's probably where the money can be made, and because there's so many people now focusing on service opportunities.
Yeah, no, it's definitely in the niches, and there's some examples, because this is finding opportunities. So find some boring, repetitive admin work somewhere. So in
Yeah.
any niche, there's likely going to be $1 billion AI agent startup if you keep digging deep enough.
Yes, and I saw this as well with Eli 5. You know, like the interesting stuff happened when you had like some domain expert in something super boring. So let's take, like, for example, what we just talked about, compliance.
Yeah.
And Nick is like, he's like an end boss in that domain.
Are you
like
calling Nick boring?
No, I don't call Nick boring, but I do think that the yeah, regulatory compliance is not that exciting.
Yeah, obviously.
And he thinks the same, but yeah, that's also why we're building TypeJust, right? To make it easier for companies to comply. But what I found is that if you took like the product mindset, the engineering capabilities of Eli 5, and you combine that with this domain expertise within regulatory compliance, someone that was like in there for 20 years, knows about all the ins and outs, and then all of a sudden like magic happens, right? Because then you basically you leverage some very specific knowledge to solve a solution, solve a problem that has not really been solved before. And I think if you look at something, if you go a little bit more towards the service, we were just talking about customer service.
Yeah,
that's something that a lot of people. I mean, you don't have to, you don't need that much customer service experience to solve problems for it, right? And I think the more you go into the nitty gritty, the more specific this domain is going to be. Often the more boring it is. You will find opportunities. You know, you can leverage that and build like solutions that, yeah, in our case, like make the whole process of regulatory change management like hyper efficient.
Yeah.
Without AI, it was already like I think an increase in efficiency of 40%. I think in the upcoming years we'll probably take that to like 80 or 90. So whether we're talking about building a SaaS or building a RaaS, I think it's still like finding that specific knowledge that can be leveraged that's gonna unlock, yeah, insane potential.
Yep, that's what it says here as well. And well, let's keep digging, or let's start digging. More about finding opportunities. So look for personal connections to industries. A recent YC founder's mother. So basically what they say is look close to home. A recent YC founder's mother is a dentist. So he just decided to go to work with her for a day and realized all of the processing claims could be done with an LLM. So it's probably also that I like this one because it's also very good to look close to home, like your friends or family who have a small business, for example, in a certain industry, like dentistry in this case.
Yeah.
You already probably come across multiple use cases that like are ripe for, you know, for AI innovation or to get handled by an AI agent.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's do that as well.
Yeah, that like based on this thing as well. What we found recently is that we get approached by quite some companies within the SME domain, and they don't know what to do with this. You know, so we already offered a couple of those companies to place an AI officer within their organization who can help them with all this stuff. This is a bit like non-Eli 5 business, I'd say. But I think there will be an insane rise of these AI officers that can actually come into a company, analyze all these like systems that they have, or maybe they don't have yet, you know, and you need to have some systems in place to be able to leverage or to build an AI agent. And it's basically, maybe it's a new kind of like BA consultant, you know, like someone that basically dives into an organization, like the example you just gave, with the knowledge about all the innovation within technology, LLMs, and can basically advise them on all these things that they can optimize. Basically, create like an AI roadmap for them, and yeah, they kind of need to, man, because what I feel with this whole boom in basically increasing productivity is that over the last let's say 10, 20 years, you had companies that were like more efficient than competitors, sometimes by leveraging software, sometimes by just having very proper systems, but you could still get away with being less efficient. You had a little bit, you were like a little bit less profitable. You probably had a little bit more headaches, but your company would still run.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if you don't embrace this now and you ignore it, this difference is the gap is gonna be so much bigger, right, between efficient companies and companies that lack efficiency.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not like you can mitigate being less automated or modern in your systems with hard work and good people skills. Like that ship has sailed.
Yeah.
Because that's basically what you meant.
Yes.
Like a lot of people, and I'm kind of the same, would happily drive a little bit further to talk to that friendly lady who personally helps you with your insurances. Than just a digital system where you can very easily do everything online. But now, probably the price difference, the speed difference, quality difference gets the gap. Yeah, will get much bigger. That no matter how much you like that friendly lady at the office who's always so nice to you, it's just not. You can't really explain to yourself anymore why you're not going for the hyper efficient, high quality, super fast option. That's what you mean, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah.
There's basically no room for inefficiency anymore.
No, exactly. Yeah, that's an interesting philosophical discussion actually as well that we can dive in another time, because I think it's cool that we covered some of the basics and that we kind of hopped on the bandwagon of everybody talking about AI agents. But the cool thing is that at Eli 5, you guys are already working with it, have done stuff with it. And I look forward to diving into the niches a little bit about this with you. So let's come up with some cool use cases and keep our finger on the pulse of all the cool stuff that's happening right now, and really dive into some niches, because that is where it really gets interesting. But yeah, I enjoyed talking about this. It's still such an overwhelming development, and at some point you will see some patterns, right? You will see some companies really shaping the market and giving it some direction of where the real early innovation will sort of accelerate. And we'll just keep following it and tinkering around with it ourselves. I'm curious about the app. About the AI agent that you were tinkering around with for my podcast issue. So let's look at that as well.
I feel excited about it, man. I'm
optimistic
the first
as well.
time I was tinkering with this no-code tool to build an AI agent, and I feel like I'm getting sucked into this. So next week I'll probably be.
Maybe you can give it a live demo next week. Live demo. So we do a screen share, and you can show the audience what you've built. Okay, let's wrap it up for today, man. It's been a long week, and the weekend has just started. Thanks for watching and listening to the Work in Progress podcast. And we'll see you next time.
All right. Ciao.
Ciao.